So we've covered a lot of the allegations about what's going on Hunter's hard drive tonight. However, before we get back to that, there's an even more disturbing allegation about an underage girl. What can you tell us about that?
This is not just any underage girl. This is a family member, and there were several figures that we have seen on this hard drive who have questionable ages, but none of them could be verified as far as who they are, except this one, and that's Natalie Biden. She is the niece of Hunter Biden, and the pictures depict her in ways that are very questionable enough that we here at OAN submitted a request to the Newcastle County Police Department in Delaware, and we asked if they had received any notes of concern about the images that were found on these hard drives, on this laptop, concerning Natalie Biden, who was 14 years old at the time. I cannot go into too much detail as to what the pictures actually depict, but they're enough that we know for sure she was 14 years old at the time because there's date stamps on these pictures. And this is around the time that Hunter Biden was spending time around not only Natalie, but her mom, who he was carrying on a romantic affair with at the time. This is the wife of the dead brother, Beau. Very uncomfortable pictures, Kara. So we had, images of Natalie being horizontal. I'm trying to be as delicate as I can, but being horizontal with Hunter. You have pictures of Hunter without a shirt on in some of the scenes. We have records of FaceTime calls from Hunter to Natalie and Natalie to Hunter. So there's some very questionable things in there, enough that we sent in a request to the authorities to see if anybody raised alarms about these pictures once they had them in their hands. So you have also another record that's very interesting, Kara, and that was a text message between Hunter Biden and his father, Joe. In this text exchange, you see that Hunter is complaining to his father that the therapist or psychologist is concerned about Hunter's presence in Natalie's life. And once again, I'll keep it as PG as I can, but there was a concern about Hunter's sexualized presence in front of Natalie, who's 14 years old. And the question there was posed to Joe Biden, saying, I'm complaining about this is horrible. Why are we having to deal with this? And I'm paraphrasing, but Joe breezes past this concern and does not seem very concerned about Natalie Biden at all. Natalie is his granddaughter, 14 years old, who is in the presence of his son, who has addiction problems, who has clearly been using drugs in a way that would endanger a child. And so lots of questions raised. Yes, there's an underage child involved, at least one that we can confirm, and that is Natalie Biden, the niece of Hunter and the granddaughter of Joe.
And it seems to be a pattern going on here with Hunter Biden, because the Senate released a report, a Senate panel released a report last month detailing some allegations that Hunter Biden was involved in prostitution, but even worse, perhaps human trafficking rings in Eastern Europe. It seems to be a pattern with Hunter.
Yeah, Kara, so as you know, OAN has been speaking with the former Biden staffer, Tara Reid. She's accused Joe Biden of sexual assault back in 1993. And when you hear her accounting of the culture of Joe Biden's office, or the culture that Joe Biden helped cultivate in his working environment, especially when it came to women, you have a lot of questions about the Biden family and how they deal with women, right? So going back to your question about the prostitution ring and the human trafficking element, we cannot confirm for sure what the scenes that we saw entail, whether or not they were prostitutes or not, or they were trafficked. We cannot be for certain, but they're certainly lewd, they're naked, there are several figures involved in each of these scenes. So there's a lot to indicate that those reports were initially true, but at this point, it's going to require a little more authority stepping in and telling us exactly looking at the metadata and telling us exactly where these pictures were taken. But there's certainly a lot of imagery and videos to confirm that there were certainly a lot of sex and drugs involved, and they look European, but we cannot be certain at this moment.